In this recitation, we are going to look into PyTorch tensors, what they are, how you can create them, how to access and modify tensors. And finally, we'll look into a set of very important functions that will be super helpful to you when you do your upcoming homeworks. So yeah, with that, let's get started. So let's begin with a quick introduction about PyTorch. So PyTorch is an open source deep learning framework library, and it has become very popular in the past few years. I feel PyTorch is very easy to use, and it has a lot of building blocks that lets you implement, train, and test any deep learning architecture that you would like to do. Secondly, it also provides a lot of research opportunities since it's open source, so you can take up any source code and modify it and customize it according to your own needs. And needless to say, it is being used at most of the major companies today in their ML and AI teams. So beginning with the installation, we give you two ways that you can install Torch. One is through the pip and the other is through Conda. So in today's recitation, we are going to use the pip installation. So let me just go ahead and run that. I have already installed Torch within this Jupyter Notebook environment earlier. So it's saying that, this requirement is already satisfied. But if you're running this for the first time, don't worry, it should all go through and you'll be able to install Torch in your Jupyter environment. Now coming to PyTorch tensors. So for those of you who are familiar with the NumPy library, you'll see that tensors are very similar to what we have that are called as NumPy arrays, right? So scalar is a one-dimensional unit that you can think of. Then vector and matrices are more 2-3 dimensional data structures that we have with us. Tensor is nothing but an n-dimensional generalization of all these different data structures that we have. So this is the basic difference between scalar, vector, matrix, and tensor. Tensor could be any n-dimensional data array that you have. But apart from this, the main difference between NumPy and tensors is that tensors allow you to run these computations on GPU. So GPU is processing unit, which makes your computations faster. You can parallelize your matrix multiplications and other operations. So if you have a tensor, you can easily push that tensor onto your GPU, which will help you reduce the computation time. And this is the major difference between NumPy arrays and tensors, that tensors allow you to use the capability of GPUs. So let's first go ahead and run Torch and import Torch within our environment. Now that we are talking about GPU, let's see if my current environment has a GPU or not. So Jupyter Notebook has an option that whether you want to use a GPU or not in your runtime environment. So from runtime, you will be able to change runtime type and select if you want a GPU or not. For this recitation, since we are not doing any heavy deep learning computations, I have decided to run this on my CPU. So if I go ahead and run this cell, it says that is CUDA available and it prints out false. So CUDA is nothing but a programming interface that is provided by NVIDIA, which lets you access your physical hardware GPU. So if you are using a GPU, you would have CUDA installed in your environment. And since right now we are not using GPU and hence we do not have CUDA, so it says CUDA is not available. So that means we are going to run this recitation on the available CPU. Now coming to tensor creation, let's see how we can create tensors. There are some very simple functions that you can use. So if you call torch.ones, you will get 5 cross 3 tensor of all ones. That means 5 rows and 3 columns. Then you can also have torch.zeros. That means you initialize a tensor of all zeros of size 5 cross 3. There is torch.I function, which lets you implement square identity matrix of size 3. And then you can also have a tensor initiated with random values within the range 0 to 1 of size 3 cross 4. And finally, you can have torch.arrange. So you can have integers in a predefined range and have your tensor initialized with those values. Now, coming to how to create tensors if you have some other data type. So if you want to create a tensor from, let's say, a Python list, you can directly use the torch.tensor function. Similarly, if you want to create a tensor from a NumPy array, you can again use the NumPy array as an argument to the torch.tensor function. And we also have something called the clone method, which lets you create a copy of the tensor that you have. Now let's see tensor conversion. Let's say you have this NumPy array of all integers. So you can see, the class is NumPy array and the data type is integer. If you want to convert this NumPy array to torch tensor, we saw earlier that we have a method called torch.tensor, but there is another method which is also called torch.fromNumPy, which again converts this NumPy array to a tensor. So if I call that, you can see that now the type has changed to torch.tensor. You can also see that the type has now changed from int64 to torch.int64, which is like the data type provided by the torch library. Now, if you want to change the data type of tensor, let's say you want to convert it to float or double, this is how you can do it. So you can call tensor.float or you can call tensor.double. So this will convert your integers to either a float value or a double value. So float will be denoted by float 32 and double will be denoted by float 64. Remember, if your tensors are on the GPU and not on CPU, then you might have to use a different method, which is called torch.cuda.doubleTensor. But this is only required if your tensors are on the GPU. Now, what if we want to change from tensor back to NumPy array? So let's say we have a torch tensor, which is T1, and we want to convert it into NumPy array. So we'll go ahead and detach it and then call the .numpy function. So this detached function is used because all tensors that you create are by default attached with a computational graph. And to bring it back to a NumPy array, you need to detach it and then call the .numpy function on it. For more details, you can refer to this link that we have provided, and that will make things clearer. We have been talking a lot about how to push these tensors onto the GPU, right? So let's see how we can do that. So whatever device is available with us, we'll go ahead and push our tensor to that device. So right now we have the CPU available and we have pushed our tensor onto the CPU. Let's see how we can now modify and access these different tensors. So these indexing and accessing is very similar to NumPy arrays, where you can use slicing functions. Let's say we initialize a random 3D tensor of the shape 3 cross 4 cross 5, and this is how it looks. So there are 3 elements, 4 rows in each element, and 5 columns. So if we want to access 0, 0, 0, that means we index into the 0th element, then we index into the 0th row, and then we finally index into the 0th column. So this is the value that we will get, right? So you can see here that T000 corresponds to 0.5936. Similarly, if you have 1, 2, 3, that means you are indexing on the 1th element. So this is the 0th element, right? And this is the 1th element. And then within that, you are interested in the second dimension, which is 0, 1, 2. So this is the row that you are interested in. And then third column. So that is 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the third column. So this is the value that you can see is printed for T123. And then finally, if you have something called T of -1, -1, -1. So -1 is a special indexing, which means the last of all elements. So in the first axis, we have -1. That means we are accessing the last element. Now within this, we again have another -1, which means the last row. And then again, we have a third -1, which means the last column. So the value will be 0.4638. So this is a very easy way to index into your tensor. Now coming to slicing functions, let's again initialize a random tensor of shape 3 cross 4 cross 5. Now if I select T of 0, that means I'm selecting the complete 0th item from this tensor. But if we have T of : 1, That means we are now accessing all the elements, and for all the elements, we are interested in getting the first row of all of them. So you can see that this is the 0th row and this is the first row. So we are getting the 1th row of all the elements. So we get this, then we get this, and then finally we get this, right? So this is your output here. Similarly, you can look into these other two functions and verify for yourself that this indexing works properly. Finally, we come to the most important section for this recitation, which is pivoting and reshaping tensors. So these are a set of 5 to 6 functions which will be immensely useful for you for your upcoming homeworks. The first function that we are going to look into is called the flatten function. So again, we are going to randomly initialize a tensor of shape 3 cross 4 cross 5. Now, if I call the flatten function will essentially remove all these dimensions and create a single 1D array from all these values that we have. So it will flatten all these dimensions and create it into a single dimension. It will be equal to the number of items that we have in this original array, right? And that will be equal to 3 into 4 into 5, which is 60 elements. So all these elements are now flattened into a one-dimensional array, or a tensor to be more precise, and its shape is now 60. So this is the flatten function. Another set of functions is squeeze and unsqueeze. These are very handy when you go into your homeworks. They are used to add or remove a dimension from a tensor. So let's see what that means. Again, we use our good old 3 cross 4 cross 5 tensor. Now, if I call the unsqueeze function, which is t dot unsqueeze dimension 0. So we are trying to unsqueeze our tensor along axis 0. So what this will do is it will simply add another empty dimension in our original tensor. So the size or the shape of the tensor from 3, 4, 5 changes to 1, 3, 4, 5 because we have added another extra dimension at the index 0. Also, we could unsqueeze the dimension along some other axis. So if we consider this original array, which was of shape 3, 4, 5, and if I call an unsqueeze function on this on the axis 1, so that will change it to 3, 1, 4, 5, because now this 1 has been added to the index or to the axis 1. Instead of unsqueezing it along the axis 0, we are now unsqueezing it along the axis 1. The exact opposite of the unsqueeze function is the squeeze function, which will, instead of adding a dimension to the tensor, it will remove the dimension. So in place of 1, 3, 4, 5, our tensor will now become 3, 4, 5, because the extra 1 that we added along the axis 0 has now been squeezed and removed. Similarly, we could squeeze along dimension 1, and when we do that, we go from the original thing that we had was 3, 1, 4, 5, and now we have squeezed it along the first axis. So this 1 will go, and we'll be left with 3, 4, 5. The next function that we are going to look into is called the reshape function. So the original shape again that we have is 3, 4, 5. And now I'm calling the reshape function, which is 12, 5. It will be now 12 rows and 5 columns, right? So you can see that its shape has now been changed into 12, 5. Similarly, we can do something like we can reshape it into 12 and -1. So -1 is a special index which says that it will automatically compute this second axis dimension. So I'm fixing the first dimension, which is 12, and then I'm putting -1 in the second dimension. So this second dimension can be automatically inferred based on the original shape of the tensor. So if I'm fixing 12 on my first axis, that means 12 rows are fixed. And the only way I can set or arrange my total 60 values in 12 rows is to have 5 columns. So -1 is automatically inferred as the number 5 because that's the only way you can accommodate 60 numbers in 12 rows. And similarly, you can reshape it into any other dimensions like 5, 4, 3. One thing to take care here is that whenever you call the reshape function, the multiplication of these dimensions that you are providing should match the product of the dimensions that you had earlier. Because this means that earlier you had 60 elements earlier, and now you want to reshape it into a shape of 12,6. But that is not possible because 12,6 is like 72 elements, and you only have 60 elements with you. Moving on, there is another function which is called the view function. Now, view function works almost very similarly to the reshape function, only in a very few cases, which you might not encounter in this course. But if you're still interested to know what's the difference, you can go ahead and check out this link. Then we come to the transpose function. So let's say we have another tensor initialized like such, and we transpose it along these dimensions. So we are transposing or we are exchanging the 0th and the first axis. So that means from 2, 3, 4, we are exchanging or like swapping out the 0th, which is 2, and the first, which is 3. So we are swapping or exchanging these two dimensions. So from 2, 3, 4, it will become 3, 2, 4. And this is the new shape of our tensor. And then similarly, if I call 0, 2, that means I am swapping or I'm exchanging the 0th dimension, which is 2, and the second dimension, which is 4. So my new shape will be 4, 3, and 2. So this is pretty simple to understand. And then finally, we come to permute tensor. Permute is similar to transpose. The only difference is that in transpose, we could only give two axes at a time that we want to swap out. But permute goes one step ahead and it lets you give a range of axes that you want to swap with each other. So this is the original shape that we had 2, 3, 4. And if I permute it saying 1, 0, 2, that means on my 0th index, now I want the first axis. On my first index, I want the 0th axis. And on my second index, I want to retain my second dimension. So only 1 and 0 will be swapped out. So the shape will become 3, 2, 4. And in this one, you can see that we are swapping or we are exchanging all the three dimensions. So in the 0th index, I want my first axis. In the first index, I want my second axis. And in the second index, I want my 0th axis. So if the shape was 2, 3, 4, now it will become on the 0th axis, we have 1. So it will be replaced by 3. In the second place, we have 2. That means it will be replaced by 4. And then finally, at the third position, we have 0th dimension, which is 2. So it will be replaced by 2. So now the new shape will become 3, 4, 2. So this is the end of part 1. And in part 2, you will be looking into several more operations on tensors, which is combining tensors and a few mathematical operations. Thank you.